Back to some work on the harvester. Wanted to look over the connection boxes for the electrical wiring, and the front one near the harvester head was just opened. A little bit of an issue with the two bolt heads being a little damaged from the past, but other than that everything looked good, so it was just bolted back up. In the back here, where the electrical cable feeds in under the cab, the protection for it is kind of damaged. I'm gonna look at replacing that. But I also wanted to reroute it a little because it felt like it could be squeezed between the arm and a hydraulic hose. That's probably caused the damage that's there. But wanted to get the full range of motion so I don't reroute it in a bad way. But what I want to do looks good. I missed recording. Well, I'm taking photos to ensure I will be able to, because I need to take the plug apart, and the camera died on me here, so I'll try to explain it. And easiest I found, it's kind of a modular plug. You can separate each part, and then with some, I'm sure there is some special tool for it, but with some needle nose pliers you can press down the metal tab and pull out the pin. They were not super easy to work with and were a lot even harder to get back together. I unbolted the box for better access and to get access to unplug the sealing that holds it in place where it feeds through the box, and it was only held in place with two bolts, so two holes were no use, and it was a little tricky to see anything down there. And I didn't have a screwdriver that wanted to catch super well, but I could find some long bits that were able to be used, and it could be unbolted. Seems I missed recording where I undid the coupling that holds it in place in the box, but it was like 24mm tools, I think. And then there is this seal area, a little tricky getting all the pins through, and they also have the extra little yellow markers on them. The wires themselves have numbers on them also, and I've written that down because was worried I would lose any of the yellow markings, so I would have the numbers on the wires also. I've read somewhere that if you misplace these, it can get expensive, that you fry things. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but I took some extra care to ensure I could make it go back together the way it should be. So some struggling getting the pieces off the wiring. Then I had that rubber boot I asked about in an earlier video that was pretty well torn, so I, instead of trying to get all the wiring out of it, I just tore it, and I figured out the kind of replacement that will come later. If that will work, I'm not sure. If that ends up failing, I'll probably rig up something that I wrap around there from an old inner tube and glue it in place. Covered all the wiring. I tried to ensure that those yellow markers are spread out to make it a little thinner and easier to work with, and then a pull string so I can easier get it through the new sheeting. That should probably have been easy. Anyway, I'm not sure exactly. I think when the machine was new, they had more of a hydraulic hose here, and someone at some point has replaced it with this more of a fuel style hose, a lot less durable, because I find some hose that was included with one of the machines that has a much smaller opening, pretty much exactly as narrow as the cable, and that would be very tricky to feed the wiring through something that thin without removing all the pins and all of that, so that's not really an option. So I'm just gonna go with what's on there, but a new one. And undoing the clamp at the back of the crane that held the hose in place was a real struggle, and I also found a hydraulic hose there that was damaged to the point that the metal reinforcement has started spreading out, and I pricked my finger every now and then on it, and it hurt, so that hose is getting replaced, even if I don't think it's leaking, just as a precaution. So this caused some struggling and dropping some tool and fishing them out, and I'm not gonna finish this job in this video because this will be left until the machine is started and crane can be lifted up. Should give me a little bit better access, and it could be pulled out of the hose that protects it. I'm not sure if you were able to see there, but it's actually damaged, that it's worn all the way through. They had wrapped some of those plastic protection around it as a fix when I started seeing it, I think. And here is my solution for replacing that rubber boot. I'm not sure if it will work out, but it's like rubber protectors for ball joints, and doesn't have the same flexibility, but I think that the hose can just move in and out of it, the opening, and well, we'll see if it works. I used a string to measure a couple of the hoses that I will be replacing here, just to see if they are the correct length as the manual says. I don't want any surprises, so when it seems to be accurate, I'm actually gonna make one of them a little longer to get a little better access to the sight glass to the swing motor, but that will be for another video. Measure that hose that will protect the electrical cable, so I don't have to bring that. I can just bring one of the adapters and or the plugs at the end, the hose fittings, and get the correct diameter hose. One of the three-wheelers that's been running poorly got an oil change, and I took the oil out. I was a little worried the carb had been overflowing or something's been acting up. I wanted to see if it was any signs of separation, that fuel had come into the oil, but didn't look like it. So, and it runs now again after a carb clean. It just needs some adjustments. I had rerouted the string to the new routing, and then I had fed the pull string through the new hose, and maybe that wasn't totally required, because this electrical cable is quite stiff and could probably have been pushed through without too much trouble, because I had left the hose adapter at the end loosed for now, so that will be pushed in now as the cable is all the way through. Lubed up things as it was time to feed on the connector, or the seal, the port for the box, and that rubber seal and everything was quite a tight fit to stretch over the wires at the end. So, but it went on there without too much trouble. Had undone some of the central lubing, because it's a block for the central lubing on top of the lid here, and as a few of them were removed to get better access. Might not have been needed. Well, maybe to undo the box itself might have been hard without having more movement of the lid, but did a little bit of cleanup in there, because access is very limited once the box is back in place. Started trying to get the pins or the connector back in place, and turned out to be really hard doing this alone. I'm sure there are some special tools for it, but oh yeah, and we have a mosquito here. They have started, and there will be more of them. So now I gave up on this, being worried to drop things, and having things on the loose would have been hard, so called in my dad for help. Luckily he was around. And with a set of more hands, I tried getting the pin, but it's kind of hard to get there, because when you press it down you block where the pin goes in, so you had to kind of twist the needle nose pliers to get it to start, and then as you got it in, it was possible to kind of push down on the side of the pin that comes in and get it to slide all the way in. Quite tricky, even if they seem to be smart connectors in other ways, being modular, that they can be broken apart. And as we got them back on there, I pushed them in place as we went, and then they are numbered, and I kept the numbers in the order they were at, even if the numbers could be moved around. But since we went them one by one, we took them as we went, and last one has a little bit of a cover you put on it as you have it in place to seal things up. Well, it's not a fully sealed connector, this, I think, and that's why it's in a sealed box, but that was done now at least. Yeah, tighten up the seal for the box connection. Got the box in place, a little tricky to get the holes to line up, but not too bad. And then the lid, and at first it wouldn't sit really well, and so double checked and realized I had a hose on the side that was getting pinched, so glad I double checked. Reconnected the central lubing hoses I had removed earlier, and seems the camera had died on me as I finished up the last little bit. I'm not sure if you saw it, but I also added those plastic wraps protection to that most of the length of the hose as a precaution. And the last bit here where I clamped the hose at the upper part in place was missed, and I'm leaving the lower part at the base back of the crane until the machine is started next time. Just have to remember to do it. That's all for now. There are more wrenching videos coming also. Hopefully some videos of usage. I have a few trees I need to bring down near the house to get rid of, so it will be good for a test run, but I want to get into the harvester head a little bit and do a few things where I know where we have a few small known leaks.